9 months after the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor project that was announced, now the link to India and the Europe through the Arabian Peninsula via sea and rail links work has begun to operationalize the first leg of the corridor between the UAE and India. Now, this is a corridor that will also be extended further, not just till the UAE, but also to Italy, France, Germany and the European Union that had come together last September in New Delhi during the G20 summit to launch the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. The corridor involves transit by ship between India, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, followed by a rail link to Jordan, from where the shipment will move by sea again to Turkey and further by rail to Europe. The issue also came up for discussion during the recently concluded visit of the External Affairs Minister. He was in the United Arab Emirates over the weekend. To get more on this, we have my colleague Ghazali joining us. Ghazali, the Israel-Hamas war had halted the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, but this is 9 months after its announcement. The work has finally begun.
Yeah, first once it was conceptualized in September during the G20 summit, then most of the experts or those who know the India-Gulf relations also said that perhaps this IMEC corridor, as it's called, India, Middle East, Europe corridor, will have its own challenges. It has its own operational challenges, but besides the operational challenges, the biggest challenge was the October 7 attack. And after October 7 attack, most of the European partners in this Middle East and Europe corridor went quiet on this entire project, but this got its backing in the G7 summit recently in Italy, when countries like US, UK and even France and Germany, they all backed that this corridor should be operationalized, or work should begin on this corridor. And finally, India has taken the lead on this Middle East European corridor by starting or taking an ambitious target of finishing the first leg of connectivity between the seaports of India and the UAE. And now questions are often asked that why India is interested in India, Middle East, European corridor after investing in Chabahar port or also in the North-South transit corridor. Experts say that perhaps this is not something like a competition to these two transit routes, or say the export routes between India and Iran or towards the Middle East, but this is perhaps a kind of a complement to these two routes. This is also an alternate route which not just connects to the Middle East, but also moves towards Jordan and Israel, the two key partners of India in the Middle East. So in some way or the other, this India, Middle East, European corridor will help not only the Indian companies or India investment in India, but will also sort of further India's reach in the European world as well.
Right, Ghazali, like you mentioned, so it's not just going to be the Middle East. It promises to connect India with the Eastern Mediterranean as well as the western part of Europe. Now, like you mentioned, there's a 100-day deadline that has been set as far as the first leg of the corridor is concerned. And that is a promise that's been made by the new government. Of course, it is Modi 3.0. Take us through, is there any target when it comes to the remaining part of the corridor?
Sorry, can you repeat? I just missed the question there.
Right. I'm just saying that we have a 100-day deadline that has been set by Modi's government. Is there a target when it comes to the remaining part of the corridor as well?
Yeah, so this involves two parts. One is the seaport connectivity, and there are areas where Indian railway network will also operate in the desert areas of the Middle East or in the Arabian Peninsula. So the first ambitious target is of 100 days to first starts the operationalization of the first part of the project, which is the seaport of India, which will connect either from Mundra, Kandla or Nhava ports, Nhava Sheva ports with the ports in the UAE. So that is the first leg of this project, which has to be operationalized. And after that, there will be participation of other countries who are the signatory of this MOU, or the Memorandum of Understanding, which was signed during the G20 summit. And after their coordination, perhaps the future legs or the remaining portion or part of this corridor will be constructed with the coordination of those countries, where either the rail network has to be let down or where this seaport connectivity has to be established.
Right, Ghazali, before I let you go, just take us through the significance as far as India is concerned and this corridor.
See, there are two things. One, that it builds on existing trade and economic relations between India and the Gulf region. And why we know that why it is very important is that we saw Mr. Jaishankar visiting UAE recently. It was his second foreign trip as a foreign minister after assuming the office there. And India has had old and very cultural ties with the Middle East or the Gulf region. Now, to reinforce that, it was conceptualized that though there are existing routes available on that route, which connects India to the Middle East, but this time around, India is bypassing the Chabahar or the Iranian region and moving into the Middle East directly via UAE, Saudi, Jordan, and other key allies in the Middle East. And we know that Middle East is on the boil, and perhaps India is also eyeing to sort of play a role of a greater superpower there, to have involvement in the Middle East as well.